Friends, family, students, welcome to another amazing episode of Grappling with Grace. And today on the podcast, I have an extraordinary man, a good friend of mine, Ruben Torres. Before we get started, Ruben, I'm going to read off your bio so everybody knows a little bit about who you are. Long before he was organizing citywide tour drives, mentoring youth inside juvenile halls, or standing alongside community leaders and law enforcement at peace gatherings, Ruben Torres was just a simple kid growing up in South San Diego, a border region where culture, music, and community collided. Born in Tijuana and raised in the South Bay, Torres first built his career in the entertainment industry during the 1990s and early 2000s. Working in video production and artist development, he collaborated on projects connected to artists like P.O.D, Run DMC, DJ Quik, Busta Rhymes, Papa Roach, and Everlast, producing music videos, concert films, and working camera on national broadcasts and tours. He also helped shape culture through entrepreneurship, launching Jefe Clothing, a streetwear brand that resonated with the Latin street scene, while becoming an early voice in digital media through internet radio and podcasting with shows like Connected with Ruben Torres, which later evolved into The Connected Show. But over time, the mission became bigger than the music. In 2010, Torres founded the Love Thy Neighbor movement, a grassroots nonprofit serving communities across San Diego and Baja California through tour drives, food distributions, mentorship programs, and creative outreach that have impacted tens of thousands of people. His work has also extended inside East Mesa Juvenile Hall, where he mentors incarcerated youth through music, writing, and visual arts programs. Today, he serves as creative director at the Morris Cirillo Legacy International Center in San Diego, producing events that bring together leaders from faith, culture, and community. His work has earned a major recognition across California, including State California Citizen of the Year, the City Champions Award from Chula Vista, the Outstanding Community Partnership Award from the National Latino Peace Officers Association, and in 2024, both the City and County of San Diego proclaimed November 9th as Ruben Torres Day. He is also now the author of The Moses Factor, life and leadership lessons for unlikely leaders. Amen. A book that challenges people who feel overlooked or unqualified to step forward and lead. Because for Ruben Torres, leadership has never been about titles or spotlights. It's about serving people and believing that sometimes the most unlikely leaders make the biggest impact.
Boom.
Ruben, thank you, brother, for showing up, man.
You.
Look, before we get started, I want to share something. Not on camera like I shared what we shared before the cameras got turned on.
I know.
But I want
to bring some of that up.
Yeah. I'm going to pray for me on that.
Yeah.
I really want to share something. I want to tell you right in front of, face to face. I look up to you as a mentor,
Thank you, brother. It means a lot.
People always come up to me and they tell me, "Oh, Elias, you've done so much. You've done so much," and they praise me for the things that I've done in the community. And every time somebody mentions that to me, I can't accept it because I think of you. And I think of all you've done, and I think of where you're at. And so when people have goals, I want to share this in front of people here, my sons and everybody here. When people have goals, most people think, "Oh, I've made it." And man, I want to be where you're at. Like I want to be able to impact people, the tens of thousands, And so I just wanted you to know that. Started off this podcast by saying I look up to you a lot in the things that you do. I try to emulate you in so many ways. And I'm so proud to call you my friend, but more importantly, just to have you here to be able to share your story, man.
Bro, that means a lot, and it's so humbling. It definitely means a lot, and I would have never known if you wouldn't have said. So thank you for sharing that, man. But it's humbling, bro, because that's not like I don't do it for any of that stuff, man. And to me, if I can inspire some of the homies to do a little something extra, that's what it's about, man. If you can reach one person doing the stuff that you do, then that's what it is, man. But I think like guys like us are these unlikely leaders.
That's why I kind of broke down a little bit. I was like, man, that's growing up. I'm glad we have a book, and so we're gonna get into the book. But growing up, I always felt that I was called to be a leader, but I allowed the world to kind of talk me out of it, right? I'm underqualified. I'm not qualified. You don't come from the right family. You come from the wrong part of town, right? These unlikely leaders. And we'll get into that in a second, but let's jump into this interview, Ruben. Are you ready?
Yeah, man.
All right, let's talk about origin and the culture foundation of Ruben Torres. Ruben, you were born in Tijuana and raised in South San Diego.
Yeah, man.
What was life like growing up in that border culture?
Dude, I think you know, for a lot of us that grew up there, you know, you see a lot of the stuff that's going on.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I grew up going to school, and you see like border patrol, like we're you know, helicopters outside the pad and doing all that stuff, and it's stuff that you don't see like if you're living in, you know, Ohio or some, you know, it's like. And the stuff
North of the 8.
yeah, and you know, you see the sign with the family and the thing crossing the freeway.
Yeah.
Like that was real deal to us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, I was brought across early, you know, and you know, English wasn't my first language, you know, so I had to like learn to adapt and everything too. But dude, I mean, I think the South San Diego culture is like there's something in the water, man, because like a lot of hustlers in the South, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, it's just that small little dot on the map that says South San Diego, like there's so many people that came out of there that were like, you wouldn't expect, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, there was of course the gang culture, but you know, the music culture was big there. The music scene was a big deal, whether, you know, through hip hop, the Legion of Doom and everything, like you see these guys coming up and you're like, dude, I want to do music. And that's what inspired me to want to get into the music industry. But, you know, of course you had the gang culture, you had the cartel culture. Yeah. I mean, all the Villanueva was like cartel freaking city right there. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you see all that stuff around and it's like, dude, it's your choice. What are you going to jump into? Right. You know? And, you know, we all dabbled, you know, all the homies and all, like we all dabbled with the criminal aspect of it. Right. And then after a while, you know, everyone kind of just branched out and did their own thing. So, you know, I dabbled in the crime thing for a little bit. And then, you know, after I got saved, I jumped into the entertainment industry aspect of it. And, from there, everything kind of just grew. And it was like, man, I want to promote everyone else around me. You know, that's always kind of been my nature, is promoting everyone else. Like, you know, not trying to make it about me, but if it is about me, I'm making it about me and the homies.
Yeah,
you know
that's a universal principle, right? You want something, help somebody else get it first, right? Yeah. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced as a young man growing up? You already kind of spoke about the environment, but what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced growing up in that culture?
I don't know. I mean, you know, of course, trying to stay out of trouble.
Yeah. Was that easy or hard?
Time, no, it's never easy. Right. You know especially like where we were at, you know. But also, you know, doing that and then at the same time, like, you know, you're trying to stay out of trouble while you're getting into trouble. Sure. You know, and it's a big deal. But you know, I think, you know, the challenges one is having like a dream that's heavy on your heart to want to do stuff and not having the resources to do it.
Wow,
you know?
that's good.
And so, you know, you're sitting there and you're like, dude, but you know, you want to go in the studio, but I ain't got money to pay for no studio, or, you know, I want to do this business, but I ain't got money to start no business, you know, and I think for guys like us growing up where we grew up, you know, I think, you know, the finances was always, you know, a lack of a resource, you know, and it was always a challenge. You know, and, you know, back in the day, people would want to be like firemen or police officers or doctors. It's not like that anymore. Right. Like you ask all these kids, like, who wants to be a cop? Who wants to be whatever? Like, you're not. Nobody's thinking that anymore, you know. But back in the day, like people still wanted to do that stuff. To us, it's like, well, I never really thought of that. Like you always think, you know, you watch certain movies or whatever, and you're like, yeah, the cops and robbers or whatever is cool, whatever. But like, dude, back in the day, it was like we were all getting harassed by cops. You know what I'm saying? It was like, so nobody wanted to be that. Yeah. But you know, just there was things that would be out of your reach. Yeah. And so once we started kind of jumping in the entertainment industry, it was like, wow, that's in our reach. Yeah. That's 2 hours away up in LA.
You
like
can touch it.
Yeah.
You feel it.
And so that became something that was real to us. Working with like Mike Ski and the Legion of Doom, that was like my first experience with being in the entertainment industry with music.
So, you know? So let me stop right there. Right, let's unpack this for a quick second. So what was? So you're talking about. We're talking about dreams or ideas that seem out of reach. What was the moment for you? Do you have an aha moment where you're like, wait a minute, this is real. I can do this. Was there a moment in your life where one day you have no understanding, you're like, it's just a dream, or the dream now turns into a goal because it's reachable? Do you remember that moment?
You know, I think probably in junior high, I seen before they were called the Legion of Doom, they were called Brothers and Cousins, and they.
I'm glad they changed the name.
Yeah. But they were doing like the DJ setup. Yeah. So they would come to the junior high and like do the dance.
Yeah, right? Sure.
And then, but Willie Will and Robbie Rob would run up, and they'd grab the mic and they'd do a set, and I'm like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
Like, there's rappers,
Yeah.
and they sound like LL Cool J, and
Yeah,
Run
yeah,
DMC
yeah.
and all this stuff, and you're just like, I want to be that.
Yeah.
As a kid, you know,
Sure.
you're in like 7th, 8th grade or whatever, and you see that, you're like, oh, I want to be that. And so, you know, I started, you know, we got into the rap thing, and so we started rapping, and I want to say it was 1995, 94, 95. Me and Paco and Mike Ski, we got to open up for Run DMC.
Wow.
At the belly up.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And that was always just my dream. Like, I loved Run DMC so much. And
opening up for your
dude,
that's insane. How old were you when you opened up for Run DMC?
Back 95, so I don't know, what is that, 20, I don't know. I was
That's wild.
Your math.
That's wild. Anybody that hears that's wild. That's wild.
And it was at the belly up.
Yeah.
So you know, it's just it's crazy to do that.
Right.
And then I had an aha moment backstage where I was, you know, still dabbling at the time with Rescue Records, P.O.D.'s old.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of just handling stuff behind the scenes. And then I think my aha moment was being backstage and seeing this older dude, kind of, you know, sports coat, whatever, older guy, gray hair, and he had one of the big, you know, the big brick phones.
Yeah.
So he's back there and he's calling the shots. He's like, hey man, we're doing this, we're doing, you know, whatever. And so I was like, yo, I want to do what that dude did.
You don't even know what he's doing, right?
But because like, dude, you could be 90 years old and still on the phone calling shots. You know? And nobody wants to see, you know,
a 90-year-old man rapping. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So to me, that was like the aha moment. And then Noah Bernardo Sr., Wov's dad, the drummer for P.O.D., he was like, yo, man, like, we're getting busy with this label thing.
Yeah.
So like, make up your mind. You want to be an artist? You want to be an exec?
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, I want to be an exec.
Yeah.
So I just made the jump from being, you know, an artist to being an executive. And then from there, like, I just wore all these different hats for Rescue Records, you know, and it was like my 4 years of college.
Yeah.
You know? So it was a beautiful thing,
job
man.
training.
Yeah. But that was my aha moment to be like, yo, I want to be in the industry, like the industry side.
Sure.
Of it,
Yeah.
You know?
So when we're talking about growing up, who are the people or influences that shaped your character early on in the industry? Because I'm sure you have bad influences, good influence, right? You could go one way or the other. You talked about earlier about dabbling in crime.
Yeah.
You get guys that dabble in crime and either like they dabble and they stay, or you dabble and you go.
Yeah.
Right. So for you, who were your early influences?
I think Noah Bernardo Sr., Wov's dad, was kind of like the neighborhood's influence, you know.
Okay.
He got saved early on, and so he came to us, and he was like, dude, you know, because we all knew him. He was like the wild man in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden he finds Jesus, and we're like, yo, like, there's a drastic change in this man. You know what I'm saying? And it's like only God could be responsible for that. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so it's like, you see kind of night and day.
When you see a street guy get saved, and then you're like, is that real? Then it's really like, okay, hey, that could be real for me too, right? Yeah, 100%.
And so, you know, growing up Catholic, you know, you see like a certain like aspect of what church is and what Jesus is. But I was like, dude, the Jesus that I'm learning about in the Catholic church is different than this dude's Jesus. I'm like, what Jesus is this guy?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
exactly.
And it was different. And I was like, dude, I want some of that, you know. And so
so let's camp right there for a second. That's right. I don't know anything about this guy's education or whatever, but from what you're saying is this guy was a street dude or whatever, got saved, and you saw an actual transformation, right?
Yeah,
right. That's the gospel, right? You saw an actual transformation. The good news of Jesus, right, is that whatever he was doing, he's not doing anymore. And it was such a transformation that you, who didn't even know what's really going on, you grew up in a church, but you're like, I want what that guy has. Isn't that the most amazing thing when you talk about like unlikely leaders?
Yeah.
That's a leadership moment for that guy, right?
He was probably the number one unlikely leader.
Yeah,
he would be like, this dude is this guy now?
Yeah. You know, that's amazing.
They sold dope, and he was a wild man.
Sure.
He would play drums, you know, and he was in the garage 2 doors down from us playing drums. And you're just like, dude, this wild man, like you would see crazy long hair. And, you know what I'm saying? It's like, this is the dude who's now like following Jesus.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was kind of like a domino effect from there, you know. So I think he was probably our number one, like probably positive influence that we had that kind of shaped who we are today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So look, that was going to be the next question. That's crazy. Looking back now, what moments do you think were preparing you for the life you're living today? And it's seeing guys like this, right?
Yeah.
And that's that's so raw and real, where sometimes I think people that are going through it or don't know what they want are looking for the answers from like a guy who they think has it all together, and it's the guy next to you, right? Who's just one step ahead. He was just one step ahead of you, right? He just found you before you did. That's amazing. I got one more question for you. We're talking about like your roots, right? If the young kid from Tijuana could see the man you become today, what do you think he would say to you?
It's a good question.
I got them all.
What would I say to him, or
no,
what would he say to
you? What would he say to you? If that young kid that came from Tijuana, the one that didn't speak English, right, that didn't speak, and he sees you right now, what do you think he would say to you?
Lay off the tacos. That's a good question. Now we're gonna have to come back to that.
Yeah. Think about that again. Yeah, that's because, or here, let me rephrase it, right? If you could go back and see yourself now, I think that maybe that's an easier way to see it. If you could go back and see yourself now,
I don't think I'd believe any
there
aspect of it.
There it is, right?
Honestly, man, like I we all struggle with insecurities, and 100%. We all struggle with stuff, and early on, something I kept quiet, nothing like your confessions from earlier, but but I was crazy dyslexic, you know what I'm saying? And I wasn't able to tell anybody about it. And
you were dyslexic and running contracts and doing
crazy, right? And so I'm sitting here like, dude, like it's something you can't really
right
tell people about. But
and you wrote a book,
And I'm sitting here, I'm like, yo, like that. There's so many things like we talked about that you would feel like disqualify you to do certain things, and I always felt disqualified for so many things, So to me, I never thought I would have my own day. I never thought I would write a book.
Bro,
finish a book.
So when you sent me your bio, when Ruben sent me his bio, I thought I knew him. All of a sudden, I see the bio. Hold on, let me just make it's a first on Grappling with Grace. The longest bio I've ever read. Sometimes dudes try to send me their bios, and I'm like, nobody needs to know that. Get out of here. I had to kind of rephrase his, like just kind of sharpen up a little bit, but I could not delete anything because it was all powerful stuff. And the last thing I would have started with, like if I have a day, I'm starting with that. This guy knocked them all out. He has a Ruben Torres day. Like that's powerful. That's more than leadership, right? That's other leaders. So leadership is influencing other people, right? But that's other leaders recognizing your leadership and saying this man has done so much. Like we're gonna honor him. That what a great honor, right? That's an amazing.
It's definitely humbling, man.
Yeah.
Kid
from TJ, right?
To bring that up, dude. Like, I personally think it's one of the humblest, most humblingest things that I've experienced, and it opened up a whole different perception to me because, dude, quite honestly, like it's hard to put it into exact words, man, but I try, like the first words in my book is, it's not about you, right?
Yeah.
So I felt for so long, like doing this Love Thy Neighbor stuff and doing the stuff that we're doing in the community, and even like the show that we're doing, like connected with Ruben Torres, like I would throw my name on stuff, whatever. And I wanted so much for it to not be about me.
Yeah. And
I felt for a certain time that I made it about me.
Sure.
And
performing a little bit.
Yeah.
Performing, yeah, right, yeah.
And I'm sitting here and I was like, man, like now sitting here at 52 years old, I'm like, dude, there was a moment in time where I'm not pointing people to Jesus.
Right.
And to me, like it hurts.
Yeah.
And so I sit back and I'm like, man, Lord, like, forgive me for those times.
Grace.
Because now I'm like, I sit back and I look at it, I'm like, dude, how humbling is it to have your own day? It's a beautiful thing. But it's like, was I pointing people to me this whole time?
Right.
Was I doing it for me? Was I doing it for my name, for a plan? And it's like, dude, like sitting back now, I'm like, Lord, just forgive me for that, because I was so full of myself at some point where I was pointing back to me, like, look at what I'm doing. Look at the things that I've done.
Yeah.
And it was cool. It's amazing to do that, and I'm honored to have that. But now thinking back after I received that, I was like, what was I doing? Like,
right.
Did I point people in the wrong direction at some point?
That's crazy, because it's wild actually, because what you're saying is it took almost like the greatest honor for you to realize, hey, I was doing it wrong. right? Like, and I love how God works that way, right? So you got honored by men, then God's like, okay, let's check ourselves, right? I went through something very similar when I had the nonprofit. I was always tired, Ruben. I, I was always tired, right? And I used to wear that as a badge of honor and say, people ask me, why are you so tired? Oh man, I have the nonprofit. I'm counseling people. I got the gym. I'm doing all this stuff. And guys like us get tired a lot, right? And then I got COVID 5 times. I caught COVID 5 times, right? Let me tell you why I caught COVID. Because every time I caught COVID, I didn't want to listen to God. He was trying to put me down for a second to like rest a little bit, right?
Be still.
Yeah, be still, know that I'm right. And I'm a big proponent of understanding and learning the art of being present. I learned that after COVID. So the 5th time I caught COVID, I didn't move for 45 days. 45 days. I was in bed. I couldn't move. I didn't move at all. And I was like, I'm not going to the hospital, but I'm not going to move.
That's
right?
Crazy.
45 days. And halfway through it, the Lord's like, I could hear the Holy Spirit speak to me. He's like, are you ready to listen? I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I've been sick. I haven't been doing nothing. And the Lord told me, stop putting my name on stuff that you're doing for yourself, Ruben.
Oof.
I felt like I got punched in the stomach with a baseball bat, right? And I'm like, what do you mean, Lord? I'm doing all this for you. The nonprofit stuff was like, stop putting my name on the stuff that you're doing for you. And then the rest of the time when I was laid up, I had to reflect, like, Maxwell says, the law of reflection. I was reflecting, wait a minute. These things that I'm putting out on Instagram, these little videos, was I leading people to God? Did I love the sound of my voice? Did I like the way that I looked? Did I like what I was wearing? And man, you want to talk about humbling experience. So when you say that, I'm like, whoa. And I wonder if God does that to other leaders that are on their path. And sometimes we do get lost a little bit, right? We can kind of get filled up a little bit when people talk to us. Oh, you did such a great job, the speaking or whatever, right? That's why I'm going to share something that I do. Whenever I preach someplace, sometimes preachers, when they're done preaching, they'll hang out. I leave right away. Right? You notice when I preach, like we bounce right away. This is why I do this, because I found out early on when I would preach and I would go, somebody would come up to me, hey, you did a great job. The word was great, and I caught myself after COVID understanding. I would puff myself up. So now I just leave. I just bounce. Right? I need that for myself. And so for me, what COVID did to me was really allow me to learn how I have to point. And every day when I reflect, when I journal, I'm like, how much did I lead to Jesus? How much lead to myself, right? And if we don't do those things, if we don't reflect and take account of what we did, man, we end up getting lost pretty quick, pretty quick, right?
Well, I want to encourage you too, man, to pray about that, because, you came to speak at our men's retreat.
Yeah.
Like the men's retreat, and there was so many guys that, like, they hoped that you would have stayed the night to talk to you the next day.
Yeah. And then when you told me that, I was like, man, those are things that I need to work on, right? I'm
you bounced so that you didn't hear and your head get puffed up.
Yeah.
But also there could have been someone who said, hey, homie, what you said was whack.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so like you kind of weigh it out. Both,
Yeah.
But there was still so much that some of the guys were like, yo, I need to hear more from what he said, because that one thing really like touched me.
Yeah.
I want to, I wish you wouldn't have left. I wanted to hear more about that.
And that's good. That's good that you're telling me that. Like,
stay there for the good and stay there for the bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sometimes the bad isn't that bad.
Nah, it's never that bad. I don't take things personal.
If you just pray that God just keeps you humble, you know what I'm saying? Like throughout all of it, because dude, when I did, let me tell you this, when I did the very first retreat, I just got into this, big old like beef at home and argument with the kids and all this stuff, and I knew it was like just spiritual battles, because I was planning to do this big thing. It's my very first one. I didn't know what I was doing. God just put it on my heart to do this retreat, and dude, I was so bummed out because like my spirit wasn't there, you know what I'm saying? And I was just like, no, like how can I go like speak to these men when it's like I don't even feel right about it, and my wife was like, no, you know what? God called you to do this. And if you're going to do this, if he put it on your heart and you're going to go do this, like don't rob us of a blessing. Like if God told you to do this, go be obedient.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to go be disobedient and rob a blessing from us. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to pack your stuff. You're going to go out there and you're going to encourage these men. And if you can't encourage these men, then go there and be encouraged by these men.
Let me stop right there. Just so for every leader out there, for every man out there, this is a prime example. every great man that you consider a great leader, 99% of the time, there was always an even stronger woman behind him.
Oh,
Imagine if your wife had not have said that to you,
yeah.
right? That's props to mama,
Yeah.
because it's always like that. There's
Yeah.
always a strong woman behind every
Yeah.
great leader that most people don't see. They don't see what's going on at home.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
You know, and to me, it's unfortunate that I had to wait, not wait, but that I matured later.
Yeah.
Because for so many years of my life and so many years of being with her,
Yeah.
she was low on my totem pole.
Sure.
My kids were low on my, like, to me, it was like the
Work,
industry,
sure.
me, everything. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
God wasn't even the top of my,
Yeah.
and I was claiming to be a Christian. You know?
Sure.
And so, you know, I wish I would have listened to my wife more early on.
Yeah.
And you know, now it's like, okay, I'm 52.
Yeah.
And so now, you know, at 50, I started listening to my wife, like,
Yeah.
all right, baby, you're right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, we've been together all this time and 3
Yeah.
kids later and all that. But, you know what, man, I think we just kind of have to figure stuff out, you know, sooner than later.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wish I would have done it sooner. And it's important, man, to, you know, now I'm thinking now, I'm like, dude, my wife needs to be above everything else. And it's taken me so long to put her there, you know, and she's put up with so much of my crap, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, we can say that all day long about stuff, or guys can claim to be the best husband in the world, whatever. I'm like, dude, I'm the worst, you know what I'm saying? And it's like my prayers have changed now to where it's like, Lord, let me love her the way that you want me to love her.
Yeah.
Not the way that I assume.
Stop right there, Ruben. That's your camera right here. Say that again. So the Holy Spirit, look, this is powerful. So exactly what you said, and then I'm going to share my thing. Share what you just said to the men out there. And this is why. There's a man out there right now, there's a husband out there right now that is looking at his wife and looking at her the wrong way. What did you just say your prayer was?
So my prayers have changed, and asking God to teach me to love my wife the way that she needs to be loved, as opposed to the way that I think she needs to be loved.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that late in the game, you know, and I wish I would have learned that a long time ago, you know, and, you know, my wife's been battling cancer for the past 5 years. And even during that, like, dude, I've tried to be there for every single appointment, every single treatment. You know, she's been going, you know, treatments in and out, all this stuff. But just because I'm there doesn't mean that I'm there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. 100%.
And so it's like, I think some guys need to really kind of figure that part out. You know what I'm saying? Because
I want to share just on that same side of that coin. For me, in my relationship, I was having an issue with my partner. Right? I was having an issue with my partner, and I would look at my partner in a way that was through my own lens, right? The own lens of my eyes, and looking at faults, looking at trauma, looking at things that I didn't like, that I disliked, and et cetera, et cetera. And you want a dangerous prayer, like a real dangerous prayer, because it's easy to walk away from a relationship. It's just easy to walk away from a relationship, right? And it's one of the biggest mistakes I made with my marriage. And I prayed this prayer because somebody told me about this, right? And I prayed, Father, help me to take off the way I see her and show me how you see her.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, Ruben. When I saw her in my prayers, I saw a little girl who needed to be protected, who needed to be loved, who had trauma. I had never seen that through my eyes. I saw the girl who threw a cake at me the other day, right? Or who yelled at me, or who burned my tortilla, whatever the case was, right? But men, you want a powerful prayer for your spouse. Ask the Lord to show you, to reveal to you how He sees her, and watch how your life changes. Watch how your life changes. You know, that was powerful. Yeah, when you were saying that, I was like, man, you need to speak directly to somebody out there. That's for somebody.
That was for somebody, what you just said.
Yeah, 100%. So, Ruben, you worked around some major artists, man. P.O.D, Run DMC, DJ Quik, Busta Rhymes, Papa Roach. What was that experience like? And at that time, as you're trying to serve and be a follower of Christ, what was the battle like being around in that industry? Like, first, so let me break that down. First of all, I'm asking because I'm a fan, right? Like, I'm asking, what was it like being around like some like DJ Quik, like some of the biggest artists ever, and then let's talk about the dangers of the industry. What was that like for you?
You know, it's definitely not a place for the weak. You know, for sure.
Yeah, it's powerful. Yeah.
But I can't say I was as loyal and faithful as I wanted to be
Sure.
during those times. Like, I wasn't as loyal to the Lord as I wish I could have been, or that I would like. And it all starts, a little dabble. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, dude, I mean, being on the road with some of these guys, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, I was on the road with Snoop a couple times, and it's, like, you got your credentials with your picture on and whatever, and he does all the after parties.
Sure.
You're walking around like, oh, I'm with Snoop.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, whatever food, drink, whatever you want is made available. You know what I'm saying? So it's not easy.
Yeah.
If you want to fall quickly, get into the industry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's not what we think it is.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And it was, dude, it's always fun to be around people like that. Dude, I was, I've been on some crazy, like, I didn't put on there, but like R. Kelly. So I was on the best.
We're gonna not talk about that. We're gonna cancel that out.
I was on the Best of Both Worlds tour.
We really?
With Jay-Z.
Yeah.
And so,
were you there for the big fight that they had? Were you there?
I was there for that.
Were you really?
Yeah, where it got sprayed with
Yeah.
I was there for that at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
Yeah, like we were out. One of my boys rolled in the ambulance with him, and we got footage of all the stuff.
Yeah.
And so we waited outside in the ambulance. We were there for all the backlash. We stayed in New York for a couple of days, like where they did the radio back and forth.
Yeah.
But anyway, dude, you see a lot of stuff, man, and it's like you wish you can unsee some stuff.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
But and you wish some of the guys that you were on the road with or did partied with or whatever, like, that memory thing that the Men in Black.
Sure.
Boop,
Yeah.
like, I wish you forgot that part.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, it's hard to be the man that you are now with knowing that these guys know who you were back then. You know what I'm saying? And dude, it sucks for people that look at you as like quasi-Christian back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, I thought you were a Christian. Like, you're partying, you're doing all this.
Yeah.
And I misrepresented a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think it wasn't until like 2013 to where I finally like woke up to it.
Yeah. Do you know of anybody in the industry that is a devout Christian, that's a strong Christian, like I can't even imagine that battle of it seems like you're walking into the tornado every single day. Do you know, is there anybody that you maybe looked up to, or were you just kind of in the mix? Like, was there anybody that was a follower of Christ that you could say like, yeah, that guy stood strong. He was like on 10 toes for it. No,
I think right now to this day, Sonny from P.O.D.
Yeah.
But even with those guys, there was challenges.
Sure, yeah.
And Sonny talks about those challenges. You know what I'm saying, openly, but like now to this day, it's like being on the road with them is different, and being around him is different.
Yeah.
And it's like he's got a different head on his shoulder than he did.
You know what experience, right? Like how to the boundaries, right? Yeah.
And so for a while, like he was even taking like a pastor. On tour with them.
Yeah.
And so he was taking his son.
Yeah.
Having his son around. When he's 8, 9, 10 years old, it's like little walking Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you ain't gonna mess around when you got your son with you. And so, people like,
Justice Justice the same age as Noah. They were training together.
Oh, yeah?
Justice was with
he was coming
to school for a while. Yeah.
And, just having that around, I think that element really, changed things. So, Sonny's always, been one of those guys that like speaks life into who I am. And
like dude, such a down to earth dude. He would come in like, you think someone like that would like drop their kid off and not hang out? Like he was always hanging out, just chilling. He like,
people trip because
he's a regular dude for the South. Like he's just like a regular dude, like a regular guy. Yeah.
Dude, he's probably the most humblest, rock star there is.
Yeah.
But like, we'll have like these toy drive events. We did this thing a few years back with Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
We did over at the National City at the Harley.
Yeah.
And so, we have this huge line, probably like 1,500 people like just wrapped around, like in line waiting to come meet Rey Mysterio. And so Sonny's there and he's like picking up trash. And fixing the generator and his hands are all dirty. And people are like, yo, is that the dude from P.O.D?
Looks like P.O.D. guy.
And so they're like, hey, man, can we take a picture? He's like, let me put this trash down real quick. Take a picture real quick. And then he goes back to picking up trash. Yeah. So it's like, dude, he shows up to our events and he serves.
Yeah.
And so I think, a dude like him, not just serving by example and being that leader, like servant leader.
Yeah.
But like he's someone that I let speak life into.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So I think, finding guys like that could like speak life into who you are, and that's important. You know what I'm saying? Like find a mentor and get mentored. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm all about. I have a mentor for just about every area of my life. Like if you don't have a mentor, I think you're losing that life. Like you have to even
There's a
me.
chapter in my book, by the way.
There are chapter in the book. I would say so. Look, I'm a 5th degree black belt, right? I'm a 5th degree black belt. But every Monday and Wednesday, I leave my gym, and every Monday and Wednesday, I go to another gym and I take a class from somebody who I promoted to black belt, who's not as experienced as I am, but I still sit at his feet and take his class. Right? I like today I took a private lesson with one of my coaches for Muay Thai. Like I'm consistently and constantly reading and trying to invest in leadership and neuroscience, all these things, right? Like if you are a leader, I don't think there's anything other than a servant leader. It's always a servant leader to be a true leader, right? Would you agree?
Leader,
yeah. Would you agree with that? Let's talk about P.O.D. real quick. P.O.D. had a huge impact blending faith and music. When that song came out, Satellite, that album, right? That whole album, that was like for me the first time I started listening to like rock after like Guns N' Roses. Like it was Guns N' Roses for me. Then I was just like a raver, house music, right? And so when that song came out, I remember my cousin Josh Aguirre. He's like, hey, you gotta listen to the song. And then the Youth of a Nation. I was like, wait a minute. There was an undertone of the gospel in every single song, and I was like, Satellite, he's talking about God. Wait, it was powerful, right? So the question I have for you. P.O.D. had such a huge impact blending faith and music. What was it like seeing that movement from the inside? Because now you're in the industry, right? And it's like, these guys are not a Christian band. These guys, they blew up, right? They blew up. And now you're seeing that movement from the inside. What was that like?
Dude, I think it was surreal
right.
for us. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, dude, we're doing MTV Cribs on Maitland. It's like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like we just did a music video right outside the pad.
Yeah, yeah.
What? You know what I'm saying? Like it was just wild for us. And then, seeing the beginnings of it, like they were a little more Christian in the beginning.
Sure,
I think they're just trying to find their
of course,
the voice.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And everything that was so like trauma that happened around, Sonny and him losing his mom, I think it was like almost kind of like recklessly Christian. You know what I'm saying? Like so like I don't care who I offend and who I don't care what. You know what I'm saying? You just like love, like boom, it's just out there, So I think he learned to like tame, his walk, you know what I'm saying? And like how he approaches things as opposed to just, punching your face with it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna be honest. Like in my experience, right? When sometimes you get like those like I don't want to say this word like holy roller, but these guys are like super Christians. I don't think they ever do nothing for the kingdom. Super Christians push people away, right? But you're so excited, right? You're so excited, right? You're like I don't care how I'm gonna offend, right? And then you kind of like tone it down a little bit, and then you're like, wait a minute. Then you find your own way, right? Would you agree sometimes, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Dude, if Sonny wasn't the way that he was, in sharing within the music and the lyrics and the message, I don't think they'd be in front of the people that they're in front of.
Right, yeah.
And I think what's special about them is like that he doesn't care.
Yeah, I love that.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's more like, dude, if he did everything that the church wanted them to do or whatever, it's like they'd stay stuck in a bubble of like whatever. Youth groups or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But instead they're like on these major tours that some people would be like, dude, that's a satanic or whatever.
Yeah. Or even who like they're touring with, right? And then people are looking at who they're touring with instead of like, oh wait, can they share the gospel, right? Dude. Sometimes Christians have this mindset of let's talk about this for a second, right? So I was listening to this man talk to this. He was speaking, and he said, hey, somebody's daughter is dealing with some type, and he named the type of cancer, right? And he goes, somebody's daughter has this type of cancer. She's 12 years old. Where is that man at? The man stood up, right? And this wasn't even a Christian. This was a motivational speech. It wasn't even like he wasn't preaching. But he's also a pastor. He's a prophet. And he gets up and he goes, right now, he's like, would you be willing to come up so we could pray for your daughter and she's going to be healed? And the guy goes, What if you pray for her and she doesn't get healed, right? That's the mindset of most Christians, right? Instead of like, instead of saying, let's go, right? And it's the way you think, right? It's like the book of Romans tells us, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? Being able to take your thoughts captive. That's the difference between like knowing you're saved and then like understanding who you are while being saved, right? And it's like we have this mashed potato like mindset sometimes, and we forget who Father is. What Father, like I don't know who your God is. My God's spoken like the universe was created. That guy could do anything, right? My Father could do anything. And sometimes,
my dad is?
Yeah, exactly, bro. Yeah. My little guys say that all the time. You know who my dad is? Like, bro, I know who my. But here's the problem with that, Ruben. I think when people say, you know who my dad is, they don't know who their dad is. Right? They don't know the power that comes with that, right? And I think so many Christians are dealing with depression, are dealing with anxiety, are dealing with trauma and whatever it is they're dealing with year after year after year after year, and never find healing because they don't step into their identity. They don't get connected, right? And Father's right there. Holy Spirit, they're just waiting for you, like Jesus right there to step into that. And when you don't, you live a life, you're saved, but you live a life of despair, right? When you know who you're connected to, like when you know connected with the root, right? When you don't know who you're connected to, when you don't know how to plug that thing in, right? Even when the plug comes out a little bit, it's like, right?
Stay connected to the vine.
Yeah, well, you have
and the thing is too is like on the son aspect of it. I mean, even Jesus, in the prayer, the Lord's Prayer, he starts it with our Father who art in heaven. Yeah. It was like he's claiming, like, dude, I'm a son.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Like, your sons are proud of who you are. Yeah. Little Eric's proud of Big Eric. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, like, I want my kids to be proud of, dude, Ruben Torres is my dad.
Yeah.
And so like we should walk in that authority of like that sonship of being, dude, we're servants.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, well done, my good and faithful servant.
Sure.
That's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
But also walk in the sonship, walk in the authority of, dude, you know who my Father is?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that changes the game, dude, when you kind of switch that mentality of like saying like, dude, my Father does great things.
Yeah.
My dad has a great toolbox.
Yeah.
So you can fix that.
Yeah.
You can fix that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's just it's different when you shift that mindset.
Yeah.
You know
100%.
So
100%.
So kids, be proud of your dads. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask one more question when we're talking about the industry. What did the music industry teach you about the difference between fame and purpose?
The industry's fake.
Oh,
Everything about it is fake. Whether you're an actor, music, it's all fake, dude. Yeah. So being just early on, like the days of the music videos, remember where it's like, dude, everybody would be like renting cars, renting all this stuff. And so like, Eric was working out a lot in Vegas with Chop, and all these guys would come and they'd rent cars from Chopper.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's like, dude, and so everybody has the Rolls Royces.
Sure, yeah.
But it's like, it's not even yours. Yeah. Like you're renting all this stuff.
I even heard they did that for MTV Cribs. They would rent out houses. Yeah. Yes. It wasn't even the real house. Yeah.
So if you watch P.O.D.'s crib, it was like right there on Maitland. You know what I'm saying? It was like right there in the neighborhood. It was like, they didn't have the fancy house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so everything was just, it's fake. Yeah. Everything is fake, man. And so, once you realize like, dude, this ain't for me and this is all fake and it's all, you're deceiving, you're being deceived, and you just kind of step away from what the fake is and step into what's real. Like it took me for so long to be like, yo, like I've been living this life for so long and pretending that I was someone who I wasn't. Yeah. And like, you remember Eric back in like 2010 or 11 or whatever, like remember got the call, like, there's that MTV show Made, remember? And they're like, hey, do you want to be a thing? A coach for these boy band thing, whatever.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so, I was getting puffed up at the time. Thinking, oh, cool. And I was getting invited to all these parties in LA. And remember we had the big screen at the Pat and like doing all these parties and all this stuff. And it's like, dude, who the heck did I think I was, bro? Like, and it was just fake. Yeah. It was all fake, and it's cool, man. Like,
do people in the industry that are living that, do they know it's fake, or are they living a lie, or do they know
they're living a lie?
They're living a lie.
I think people know it's fake, bro, and you just kind of keep going with it, and that's why I'm saying, anybody who's listening and watch, like, dude, go have a real conversation with Sonny from P.O.D. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because like he'll tell you the way it really is. Like he's seen the good and the bad. You know, he's made the money and he's lived all of it. He's seen it all.
He's got his new singles thing coming out, right?
The new
Sunny
album,
Dread, right?
Sunny Dread,
yeah, Sunny Dread. Want to
album.
promote it real quick?
Yeah. Sunny Dread, the new reggae album. He's going to be on tour with Aurora Wave.
I saw that. Yeah.
And he's doing some cool stuff on the reggae scene. So
go pick it up. Sunny Dread's new album.
Got that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. You know, it's there comes a time where you just say, dude, I'm done.
Yeah.
With that. And
bro, you know what's crazy, real quick? As I have all these questions, and you're the way you're talking, and we're just flowing. You're answering the questions one right after the other, bro. That's the Holy Spirit, bro. That's why I pray before we do this thing. Let me hit you with this one. When did you realize serving the community was part of your calling?
In 2010, we're working on a documentary for my boy Jason Page. He was doing this like human trafficking documentary, and so me and my brother Charlie and Jason Page went down to TJ, and we're shooting with some guys that my brother Charlie knew down there, and you know, one of the guys that we're interviewing, like he would be like, you know, you would think he's the bad guy, like he was deported from LA down to TJ, and so we would be interviewing him, and you know, we said, hey man, what do you want us to bring you next time we come down? We're gonna come down next week or whatever, and he asked for a basketball. And I chuckled a little bit because I'm like, dude, you're as tall as me, bro. Like, what are you doing with the basketball? I know you ain't playing ball.
Yeah.
He was like, nah, man, there's some kids in the neighborhood right around the corner. There's a basketball court, and nobody ever gets to play because they ain't got nothing to play. You know, no balls.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and I was like, dude, it hit deep because I'm like, this would be a guy that you would be like, people would count him out.
Sure.
They would think he's a bad guy, and he was like slanging dope at the moment and whatever. But it's like, God used that dude to plant a seed in me. Like, that's what I should be doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, whoa. And I told him, you know.
Wow. So hold on. Are you saying that wow, that's how God works. That's beautiful. God used somebody who was slanging dope to start your movement that became Love Thy Neighbor, that became all these things. Some dude.
So
wow,
don't count anybody out.
That is
because God can even use that guy. That's a chapter in my book too. But
wow, yeah, that is amazing.
But God
bro.
can even use that guy.
Yeah,
you know, one of my best friends, Paco Manson. He's a producer. He does music. He grew up with this since diapers. He was like the wildest dude that you knew growing up, bro. Like just crazy, right?
Yeah.
And he would fight anybody. He would do any drug you put in front of him.
Yeah.
He would loudest crazy, like, you know what I'm saying? Like just a wild dude. He was the guy that I would rap with. Me and him opened up for Run DMC. But wildest dude. And now he's traveling Southern California, you know, talking about sobriety. He's going to all these AAs, and he's like, he changes lives now through his sobriety.
That's amazing.
And it's like he would be the just no one even on your list to be like, oh, that dude's changing lives through that. And God can even use that guy. You know what I'm saying? So like sometimes we count people out, and it's like, no, don't count that dude out yet. Like God can use him. And that's what God did with this guy. His name was Chell, and he planted the seed, and he opened up something that I never even looked at and I never thought of. So at that moment, I was like, you know what? This is what I should be doing. This is what we're supposed to be doing.
So what was the vision like when you start Love Thy Neighbor? Like, what's the vision, or are you just going with it, like saying, okay, we're just gonna do this, or did you have a vision? When did you get the vision for that?
We winged it, bro. Like, so he asked for a basketball. And then I hit him back up and I said, dude, let me put something together and we'll come back. Yeah. And it was like, you know, I think it was like October, November time. And so I was like, let us come back in a couple of weeks with a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And that was the very first toy drive. So at the time I was working, we did something for Nitty's Tattoo. On Broadway. So, you know, I had asked Flaco and Sleeps, hey man, can I use like the front of your space?
Yeah.
To just collect toys. And they were like, what? Like, yeah, go for it, do whatever, you know. And so I asked Beto Perez to come out, and he DJ'd, and the Maitland crew, Rudy Roots, and they were out there. They DJ'd for a little bit, and we're just playing music as people were coming off, dropping off toys, you know. And so it just started as like, dude, let's go bless our neighbors to the south.
Sure.
And in the words of Jesus, love thy neighbor.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like, oh, it was an event.
Yeah.
We're having an event. We're calling it Love Thy Neighbor. And so I think it was the following year, Milo over at the spot in Barrio Logan, he had opened it up and he's like, dude, do your event over here.
Yeah.
And so that year, like those people from Vegas, from Texas, from Northern California that were sending us packages that year. And so I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like we're getting stuff from everywhere, you know? And so that's where I was just kind of like, dude, became like a little movement.
Yeah.
And so we just added the Love Thy Neighbor movement.
Yeah.
And it didn't become like a 501c3 until 2016, where
you're just doing things, right? Yeah, just with a name
stuff.
on it, right?
Yeah.
And then
it grew into so much more.
Yeah.
You know, from there, doing the toy drives, then we started hitting the orphanages and the shelters.
Let me say this. Let me stop right there. You know what I love about you, Ruben, is that there's one thing that and it's amazing to watch you talk, because we've never had like a long, deep conversation like this, right? And so I know one thing that all successful people have in common is it's not like their education or where they're from.
I'm a high school dropout.
Are you really? Yeah. So I didn't graduate high school, but I became the valedictorian in college, right? So we have like, because we changed something in our life, right? So one thing I know is that all successful people have one trait in common. They're men of action, right? And I'm hearing you talk and like, I'm hearing you're presented with something and you're running with it, right? And right. And and I feel like guys like us, sometimes we don't know any better and we're like, that sounds like a great plan, I'm doing it, right? And then where other people that might have more education than us, that might be, well, I'm gonna have to think about that first, and then you miss the opportunity. And then God's like, I'm gonna go to somebody else. But God whispers to us, right? Bro. The Holy Spirit will whisper, and sometimes the Holy Spirit whispers through a dope addict, through a dude slanging dope or whatever, right? And you realize there was something there. And from that guy, I'm still tripping out on that. From that guy slanging dope, you've changed people, tens of thousands of people's lives. You've been able to affect tens of thousands of people from that. That's crazy because you listened, you saw the opportunity, and you just ran, right? And you're like, every time I'm hearing you, when you're doing something new, you're like, yeah, I saw it, I did it. And I'm like, wow, I don't even know if you know that that's what you're doing, but that's amazing. Like you're just running with it.
Dude, we had no resource, no nothing. Like our very first time, like, remember, Eric, when we did the very first, like, connected with Ruben Torres stuff? It was like, I just came with the idea. I think I'd seen, what was the show that the dude that was doing the MTV thing, and he started doing the black and white interviews. I was like, dude, I want to do that.
Yeah.
You know? And so, like, I don't know what I was doing, so I knew Eric knew what he was doing, so I reached out to Eric, like, yo, let's do this thing, and we just started filming stuff. My little brother was learning to edit, too, and he was teaching my little brother, and so we didn't know what we were doing.
Right?
Like, he was the only one I knew that had a camera, and I borrowed another camera from Cornerstone.
Yeah.
And so Pastor Sergio's letting me use a camera. We're just doing it, dude, you know what I'm saying? And so, we rolled up to LA, and Eric made me look like a star. Like, he did this whole, like, elaborate, like, intro and all that stuff. But it's like, just jumping on it. Like, if God gives you an idea, just run with it. And, like he'll give you the resources. He'll give you everything else as you go along. But
you know what's crazy is that I wish I could say I was like that all my life. And I've only been like that the past 2 or 3 years, right? I knew a long time ago that God wanted me to do a podcast. And but when I was like, I don't know anybody, I don't have equipment. First of all, that equipment's like 20,000, like right. And then I've seen podcasts like where they're just sitting down and do it on their Instagram. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And so I was like, okay. Then all of a sudden, people started picking me up on their podcast because of my story and what I'm doing. So I was on a lot of other podcasts, right? And I'm like, God, you see, I don't have to do the podcast because I'm already on podcasts. And I didn't realize that God's showing me. I started learning from being on all these podcasts what a good podcast looks like, what a bad podcast looks like, how to interview, do you want to have a conversation, all these things, right? And still I was like, nah. So I actually was invited to a podcast. Nobody knows this is how we started the podcast here. The Holy Spirit had been like, sometimes the Holy Spirit whispers, he was slapping me in my face, you got to start a podcast, right? And I'm like, I don't know anybody, right? So I got invited to the Fit PD podcast. And it's the guy Juan. He runs he's in charge of the police academy, right? And so they do it here in the studio, right? So I showed up. I've known Andy for years. I didn't know Andy. I didn't know he did this. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. I walk in and I'm like, "What, Andy? This is your place?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then I was like, I go, "Juan, you rent this place out?" Blah, blah, blah. And then the Holy Spirit's like, "You cannot leave here until you make a deal with Andy about." And I was like. And then I was like, okay, now listen, God, right? And then from there, it just it started working, right? And it's like, that's it. that's how the Holy Spirit works, man. He either whispers, and then sometimes we don't listen, you get slapped in the face, right?
Smacked upside the
Yeah.
head. That's a beautiful thing, man.
What were the early struggles of building something like that from the ground up? Oh, we kind of talked about that already, like with money wise.
I think even just like you know, touching on that,
Yeah.
like the taking action. Like sometimes there's times where God tells you be still.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's times where it's like, dude, you know, even like, you know, when Moses is sitting, you know, and he's just, all right, you know, praying and praying and praying.
Yeah.
And God tells him, dude, take action. Like,
Yeah.
it's time for some action, homie.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's time to stop praying. You've been praying this whole time. Like,
Yeah.
I heard you. Now take some action. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, you know, we got to be that way, man. Sometimes, like, we listen to the Holy Spirit, we sit still, and there's times to take action, man. And you know, I sat on this book for like years and not doing anything with it. There's a lot of stuff that I like worked on. Like I have a story for a movie. I got all these different things. And it's like, I feel this is the first thing that I've actually like finished.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, but it's time to take action, man. So
I love that.
Whoever's watching, whoever, you know, be inspired, be motivated. But dude, that one thing that you've been like sitting on, that you've been wanting to do, like start that podcast, man. Like start that business, do that thing, whatever that thing is, that clothing line or whatever it is, like do that thing, man, because, you know, sooner or later you're going to be 52 years old wishing that you would have done that thing. You know what I'm saying? And dude, you look at all these young kids. I was talking to little Eric earlier, and it's like, dude, he's doing stuff that I wish I would have done when I was his age.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He's like doing music stuff and the entertainment. Like, it's like, what? I wish I would have learned how to do all, like, I'm not technical at all.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I hardly even know how to do it. You know what I'm saying? And this guy's doing like, oh, I'm doing this concert. I'm doing AV stuff. I'm doing sound. It's like, you're doing that thing. You know what I'm saying? So whatever it is, like, if you're, you know, you can never be too old, not too young.
Yeah.
Just do the thing. You know what I'm saying?
And I love how you were saying how, you're, like, a lot of times I've heard you say, we didn't have the resources, but we did it anyways, right?
Yeah.
And if it is your purpose, God will supply. God's going to bring the people. You're going to meet somebody who can do it for you, right? You're going to meet someone that's going to help you, that's going to partner with you, right? When was the moment when you realized, let's say you're starting to love thy neighbor, things are moving. When was the moment you realized, like, this is my assignment for this season? Was there a moment like that?
I think having a conversation with that same guy, Chell, a few years later, realizing how much the people gathered around him and realized, like, yo, man, like, what you're doing here is changing lives. And all I was doing was just kind of supplying stuff. But I looked at it like, dude, this is what we're supposed to do, you know? And I never took time to step back and like realize like the impact that it was having.
Yeah.
And then started getting like personal testimonials on stuff. You know, it was a friend of mine, her name's Araceli Villa, and she was the very first recipient of anything Love Thy Neighbor. You met her.
Yeah.
Her and her husband. And so she was the very first recipient of anything Love Thy Neighbor. And
I think I met her before I met you. I think she reached out to me before. Yeah.
And so I went to school with her. You know, I knew her from school. But the night before we went to TJ on the very first Love Thy Neighbor to go give anything out, like, she had reached out to me during the week.
Yeah.
And so I gathered some stuff for her, and I get super emotional, so I would have cried if I would have showed up to her.
Yeah.
So I just asked a couple friends, like, hey man, can you guys go to her house and drop off this stuff? And so, like, you know, we took a bunch of Christmas stuff, Christmas tree, and a bunch of stuff just to like bless her. It was my first time. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's just do this. But she was like so blessed. She called me crying, like, oh my God, thank you, Ruben, for the, you know, how much it means and all that stuff. And so you're just kind of going through the motions, like, oh, thanks, man. Like, I hope it blessed you and this whole thing, right? So, like, the next year she shows up to the spot and she drops off toys. Like, she became a donor.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, here, I'm bringing some toys this year. And the next year after that, she showed up, boom. And then probably like 5-6 years later, she's like, yo, like, what can we do? How can we help? Want to volunteer? Yeah. And so I think it was 2015, 2016 where she jumped on board to volunteer. And then, like, she expressed to me how much her being involved in helping Love Thy Neighbor and doing what Love Thy Neighbor does, it helped shape her and change her through, you know, she was going through depressions and going through all this, you know. And so it's like, man, if it helped someone like just giving, just being
sure.
that person to give, if it helped her that much, like break out of that shell and become like, dude, she, I give her the microphone now, she can speak, she can share. And I think it kind of helped her kind of break out of that shell, so, I know there's more people like her that have helped, that Love Thy Neighbor has helped break out of their shell and do more things. I think that was kind of a moment for me saying like, yo, like I did what I was supposed to do, and God used this thing, and where I felt like it's not about me.
Yeah.
It wasn't about me.
Yeah.
And because for a long time, like I felt that like, man, I'm doing this for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to be that, know. And so
how many leaders clog up their potential when they just keep making it about them, right?
Dude, you see it so much all over the place. You know what I'm saying? And you see a lot of fallen leaders too.
Sure.
Especially in the Christian circles. You know what I'm saying? And so, it's like, dude, just stop, leave it alone, and let God do what He does through you, because the more you make it about Him and the less about you, people need to see Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's just, it could be tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, even like at this last retreat that we went to, like, I think maybe I only grabbed the mic once just to kind of tell everybody thanks.
I noticed you had someone just running the whole thing for you, and you're just in the back, and you were the old man, right, in the back. You're the running the front. But that was great. I know. I love that about you, because it was your retreat, and you could have been at the front the whole time, right? But you actually had somebody, like, I think Quik was the one doing the announcements. Like, you had somebody doing everything for you, and that's right. That's amazing. Yeah.
I didn't even realize that until now.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't want to make it about me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
100%.
man, like, the first year I went up and, I shared a little bit. Second year I did less.
Yeah.
And this third time I didn't do any, and, I want to give everyone else the platform. You know what I'm saying? So
that's what great leaders do. They build other leaders up.
Yeah. Like, I would rather hear, like, hey, Noah, what do you got to say? Come up here and dude, share what God put on your heart, as opposed to like, this is what God gave me.
Yeah.
I need the platform. Like, dude, like, I've been trying to mentor some other younger cats that are doing stuff. And, it's hard to try to get them to realize that just because there's a stage and there's a platform doesn't mean you need to be in the spotlight.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Sometimes you need to be behind the stage, helping out someone else doing something else, or be a stage manager, or just be an usher, or be like, you don't think once you reach that ultimate like moment of like humility, then God will lift you up.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to lift yourself up, man, it becomes a whole other thing.
I'm one of the men's leaders at Heart Revolution Church, and when I started going there, I thought like, pastor's going to put me on to preach right away. And that hasn't happened, right? But there's a bunch of reasons why. But you know what my for the longest time I served as a greeter, right? And people are like, why are you, like, I have a passion for, like, because me and my fiance, we dance. Like, we're dancing as greeters. Like, people love this, right? And then now, like, I'm his own.
What kind of dancing you do?
I'm a shuffle. I'm a raver. So only to the left, though, because I have bad hip, and then I'm also his, like, nobody really knows, but I'm also like his personal, like, I'm the guy that if someone shows up, I take care of, like, so he has like his PA team.
Security,
but I'm like his main guy. Like, I sit right in the corner. I'm like, but I love that, right? But isn't it funny, at least for me, like, I think I'm a great, I could preach great, and I'm a great speaker or whatever. And like, I'm not being used for that there, because there's like 6 other guys that are right. And what I know in this season, I'm sitting down learning about the church. I'm learning how the church runs. I'm learning all this stuff. But I have my own ministry. But it's funny because I'm like, oh wait, I could, because at first I was like, when am I preaching? What I got, right? And then I'm like, wait a minute, no, the Lord needs me here. Yeah. And I think it's only when you're able to humble yourself, and when you're, like, again, going back to like, are you really a servant leader, right? How can I serve? Like I told Pastor one time ago, he goes, I had a meeting with Pastor Chichi. He goes, what do you want to do? He goes, what do you want to be? And I go, Pastor, I'll clean the bathrooms if you need me. Like, we had just moved churches to Heart Rev. He goes, yeah, I'll put you wherever you want. And I was like, and I don't know, I was like, I'll put me where you need me, But maybe 5 years prior, I would have been like, I want to be in charge of the young adult ministry, right? And would have fallen, right?
Yeah,
like,
I'm just trying to be invisible.
Yeah,
I
love that about you.
I'm like, dude, I'm just sitting in the back. I've been going to Shadow Mountain for a bit. I was telling Eric, I was like, dude, I just started going to Calvary San Diego.
Yeah.
But I'm just like trying to be in the mix. Like, I'm not trying to get involved in anything right now.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm here to be blessed by the message, and there's a lot of zeal, and especially like some of the younger cats who they just crave to be on the stage. They crave for, I can preach, I can do all that without fully understanding like what comes with that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
yeah, you might be able to speak really well, but if you're not prepared for the aftermath or the prior or the attack, the spiritual attack that comes with that, after I preach, every time after I preach, the next day I can't move. Like I give everything. Like it's like I have to take that day off. Like people, and if you're not prepared mentally for that, that would ruin you.
When we come back from the retreats, it's like a spiritual hangover.
Yeah, you went through retreats.
Like, whoa, what is this? Why do I feel like this? But there's a lot of responsibility that comes with being on stage and being used that way.
Yeah.
But if you're not careful, man, like, dude, it's so easy to get sucked up in that spotlight, and it's so easy to get full of yourself.
Yeah.
And again, because like how you're saying, like people come up, oh, that was such a great, you did such a great, and your head gets puffed up, and you just lose vision of, and it becomes a me thing, and like you'll see, like there's people like post I, me, and it's like, yeah, dude, that's not what it's supposed to be, So be careful, man, with anybody you see, especially like pastors when it becomes about them and it becomes a me thing, like. There's red flags.
Yeah, that's always important to recognize. Ruben, you've worked with youth, law enforcement, faith leaders, and community organizations. What does real leadership look like to you?
Real leadership to me, I believe it looks like what I said that Sonny does at Love Thy Neighbor events.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, dude, real leadership is when you don't care about grabbing the mic.
Yeah.
You don't care about being seen, when you don't care about being heard. God will lift you up to be seen and heard.
Yeah, amen.
And so to me, real leadership is that, like, like when you have the opportunity and still don't, it's crazy, but God will put you in the places where he needs you. So real leadership looks like the guys in the background doing the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Supporting. I remember Pastor Sergio used to say, holding up someone else's ladder so they can climb to the top.
Yeah.
Like those guys that's the real leadership right there. You know what I'm saying? So to me,
powerful.
I don't know. I look at the guys who are making the stuff happen as opposed to like
that are doing the speaking.
Yeah. It's like, cool. Yeah. I can give you your props and like what you do is dope. But like who, look around you, see who made all
There's
that
an
stuff
army
happen.
that had to produce something to get you there. Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
Why do you think so many young men today struggle with identity and direction, man?
I think it's something you always touch on, man. I think fathers not being present, or misrepresenting, and then there's certain things like you could say like, oh, I drink or I do this thing, whatever this thing is, because of my dad, because I see my dad do it, or I see my dad, or you flip it, change the perception on it, and it's like, I don't do that thing because I see my dad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you can become that thing or you can not become that thing by choice. But I think, dude, us as men don't step up enough, dude. And
that's good.
In talking to a lot of the guys that I talk to now, especially like after the retreats and all that stuff, and it sucks because I learned it late in life, and some of the stuff that my kids go through is my fault.
Right.
And I'll take that on. But,
sure.
But as men, we weren't the priests of our home that we should have been.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, my kids are older now, and it's like, man, if I would have been the priest of my home sooner, then I think it would have had a different impact on my family.
Yeah.
And it's like, I hate the fact that I learned that too late.
Yeah.
But being the priest of the home, because we can all be providers.
Sure.
Everyone can make money and like, oh, what do you need? Some clothes, you need some food, you need to go to, football practice, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, any man can provide and throw some money down so you can do that thing. You know what I'm saying? And being the protector is always in our nature.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to protect our kids, but being the priest of the home is a whole different.
Yeah. That's intentional. You have to be intentional with that.
And so it's like, I didn't always take my kids to church. I was quasi, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was like, sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. I didn't fill my home with worship music or whatever. Yeah. I didn't, my kids didn't always see me reading the Bible.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't always pray for my wife or over my wife or for my kids. So you have to be intentional about being the priest of the home.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we lack a lot of the stuff. So, you know, a lot of that negative stuff and a lot of the reason that I think some of the younger generation is the way that we are, because our generation failed in being the priest of their home.
Yeah.
And I include myself in that. You know what I'm saying? I think that was one of my biggest mistakes.
Let's talk about mentorship. What role does mentorship play in changing a young person's trajectory?
You know, like going into these juvenile, you go in there too.
Yeah.
I think one thing is in talking to them, consistency is always a big deal.
What's the message you're trying to send to those kids when you get there? Because you only have like a certain amount of time, I'm assuming, right? And I don't know if how often you're going there. So it's not like if you were going to go to like a church where you might see these kids again on the street, or they can connect with you online. Like when you go to juvenile hall, what's the message that you're trying to give them in that limited amount of time?
You know, because we go in for different reasons. Sometimes we go in for music, and
I love that. Share your program, what you do in juvenile hall.
Yeah, we through Youth of the Nation Foundation with Sonny and with Love Thy Neighbor, like we donated much of like studio equipment.
Yeah.
And now one of the units, I don't know if you've got a chance to see
I haven't got it
yet. But there's a recording studio in one of the units now. And so, you know, there's someone donated like a recording, like a vocal booth where you can go in there. And then there's another, like an actual, like it was a cell that got turned into a studio.
Yeah.
And so there's a little mixing console and there's all the stuff in there.
Yeah.
You know? And so, I think one of the biggest supporters has been like Little One.
Oh, really? Really?
And so he comes in with us, and he goes in and he like shares with the kids, and he spends time with them, and he'll teach them the kind of recording techniques and all that stuff. I didn't know that. He brought Steve Vicious in. He's brought in a couple guys. He brought in a guitar player to come in and like record some stuff with them. And, you know, kind of switch up the mindset of like what you're doing, how you're doing it. Yeah. And kind of, hey, like flip it up to try something different. Yeah. You know, and so we do these bigger events in there. So we do kind of like a festival. Yeah. Really? Every year. So we bring in like lowriders and DJs and food trucks. Wow. And, we set up different like booths. So like Kuya and them will bring in their tattoo equipment. Yeah. And so some of the guys want to be tattoo artists. So they teach them, they bring in the skins. And really? They, like, teach them. We got barbers that come in and like they're talking to the kids like, yo, if you want to be a barber when you get out, like, dude, you can come apprentice with us. And so, like, you know,
bro, shout out to Kuya. Shout out to Kuya real quick, bro. When I was going through it, like, this dude would, Holy Spirit would use him, and he would send me a text like and I'm like, I don't want to listen to this guy right now with a little verse, and he would just say, hey, and then he would send me like his voice, right? Yeah. I love you, bro. Hey, right? And I'm like, bro, but shout out to Kuya, man. That guy, that's an amazing man of God who's been through it like us, who's done it all, seen it all, and he stands on 10 toes, bro, when it comes to the Word of God, man.
Kuya's been one of like my core dudes for the retreat. Yeah. And he's just one of the most solid dudes that I know, you know, and him and Joey, like they're just guys that I can lean on, you know what I'm saying? Memo from the Good Merc. Yeah.
When I asked Quik, because he spoke, and I go, hey, what are you speaking on? What's your message on? He goes, I don't know. I'm just gonna share.
That's how he is.
I was like, bro, it's a I go, it's a retreat. Like we have what's your message for the men? He goes, I'm just gonna go up there and talk. And I was like, what? And then he went up there and just talked killed it. Yeah. Like I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, he has that. So like we bring him into the juvenile halls, and the kids will come talk to him, and he's just like, nah, homie. Yeah. And he just boom, and he breaks it down. The kids are like, what? Yeah. And he's like a little
he
has that gift.
Wisdom of he has the gift of like being able to relate to anybody that because I've seen him talk to people from all walks of life and just sit down, but more importantly, stay himself. Yeah. He didn't have to change, stay himself. Yeah. Connect, relate, and then change somebody's life. I'm like, I want to be like that. Yeah. Like, that's amazing.
That dude is dope, man. Yeah. I love that dude, man. And that dude is a real leader.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, that dude is a real leader.
Yeah.
And so to me, like, you know, I look at him and the people that he has around him and the way that they love and respect him is different. Like if you just sat and just
you know what's crazy? Like I thought people knew me, or you know, I'll walk anywhere in San Diego and drop Kuya's name. Everybody knows Kuya. Oh, yeah, like when they ask me, oh, do you know Kuya? Like everybody knows Kuya, and that's insane. Yeah. That's insane. everybody
and
knows
sometimes
Quik.
it's for different stuff.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, oh,
it's not always
he's
for
a
a tattoo.
foodie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did my homie's tattoo.
Yeah.
Or like, oh yeah, he taught me how to make this thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, from the motorcycle world. And all this, like, what? Like, dude's a biker. He's is that from the church and from. I'm saying it's like, dude's
a Renaissance man. That's
yeah, for real, man.
So in being able to venture out into all these walks of life, have you personally ever seen somebody's life change right before you, like right in front of your eyes? Like, have you seen, like in juvenile hall, have you, or anywhere, like, have you seen that transition, like somebody get it while you're talking, or at a place where somebody's speaking that you put on? Have you ever seen a life change right in front of your eyes?
Yes.
What was that like for you, knowing that you're somehow part of that?
I don't want to go too deep into
yeah, of course.
You know, yeah, I've seen some crazy changes.
Yeah.
Even like some spiritual battle stuff that.
Yeah.
Like supernatural stuff that I never expected or never want to see again.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
wow.
But yeah, I have, man. And yeah, some people, you know, will take longer to get it, and some people get it on the spot.
Yeah.
And not everyone gets it on the spot, but yeah, like I've seen
powerful.
And being at Legacy, you know, like you see all kinds of different like events and people come in and out of there. Every like well-known pastor, whatever has been.
Did you ever get to meet Morris Cirillo?
Of course.
Did you?
Yeah. Oh, dude,
Dude, you guys know who Morris Cirillo is?
Yeah, he's.
Talk about Morris Cirillo real quick, bro.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy you just walk in a room, you know, he's there, like his presence.
The man of God, Holy Spirit,
dude.
Yeah.
He when he walks in a room, you just shut up and just learn and soak up his knowledge.
Talk about like his stature. He's not a big dude.
No,
right?
he was a tiny little dude.
Yeah.
But like he was known all over the globe.
Yes.
Dude, there's so many stories about him. Like I get people from all over the world that come and like share stories about him. Dude, he was arrested in Argentina for practicing medicine without a license because people were getting healed at his events. Just crazy. Like what?
Wow.
Like, getting arrested for it, bro.
Yeah.
It's like legend, but you know, you hear other people on other podcasts talk about it. But in Africa, I want to say it was like Nigeria.
Yeah.
I want to say, dude, he there was word that he was coming in and he was going to hold this event, and so there was like these witch doctors that were out there, like these, well, I don't know what you or whatever, but they were warning all the other like voodoo witch doctors to not come within like a certain miles from wherever he's going to be at, because the Holy Spirit, the presence in that man alone would like make them sick for like weeks on end or whatever. And it's like, don't even go anywhere remotely close. And even when that dude leaves, like
the presence is still there.
Yeah, the presence is still there. So wait before you even go anywhere near.
That's like an Old Testament prophet, dude. Like
yeah. So like you hear all this stuff, and to me, I'm just like, dude, like, you know, I had the privilege to like work under him for maybe like a year and a half before he passed away.
Yeah.
But dude, he's so powerful, and
that's amazing.
He walked around Legacy like not even like, dude, just super humble. He didn't drive like a Rolls Royce or whatever. He just had like a little Lincoln MK3 or whatever, like little crossover thing. Like you would never be able to tell. Like that's him. That's the dude. And you know, he had that little raspy voice. You know, and he would just always call me young man, come here, young man. You know, and he'd grab you. He'd do the Godfather kiss. He'd come up, kiss you on the cheeks, and do all that. And he's like, you're going to do amazing things here, young man. I believe in you, and God brought you here. You know, and I'm just like, all right, sir. Everything was sir. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yeah, man, he's, you know, I'm connected to his family, and his daughter's my direct boss at Legacy.
Okay.
And dude, I mean, they've made such an impact in the globe, you know, all over the globe.
Yeah.
So like what Billy Graham was to the United States, he was to the rest of the world.
Yeah, to the rest of the world. Yeah.
And he's left such an impact, and he never had like a church with his name on it.
Yeah.
But you know, if like, I wish I would have met him sooner, because he was the kind of guy who was
the earth was
what do you
church,
need? What do you need? What do you need? And he would just cut checks. Like, what do you need? All right, cool. Here, go do that. What do you need? And I'm like, dude, a little few years too late on that one. Would have been like, do I need a couple million to do whatever? You know, and he would just cut checks, you know.
Yeah.
But
as opposed to other famous preachers that don't cut checks.
He was the guy that like, you know, people have hobbies. You know what I'm saying? I don't have too many hobbies, but like people golf, people like sports, people do stuff. this guy didn't do any of that. It was ministry his whole entire life. So with Morris Cerullo, he probably wrote more books than I can even conceive of in my head. And
what do you think? So let's camp here for a second. Very few people will actually be able to spend some time with someone like that.
Yeah.
Right. Let alone a year. Yeah. Right. Let me ask you this: what is the greatest lesson you learned being under a man like that? Because there's like in jiu-jitsu, there's black belts and there's black belts, right? And then in the kingdom, there's leaders and there's leaders, and then there's people who have churches, and there's people who preach to the state or in the United States. Then there's people that affect the globe.
Yeah.
We can maybe name 5 other guys that can be in a category with Morris Cerullo. Maybe 5 other guys. Yeah. Maybe Billy Graham being one of them, but maybe a few others. What is the greatest lesson you learned being under a man of God like that?
I think it's probably what we talked about earlier, taking action. Okay. I think he was one of those guys who just took action. Like, God gave him the vision to do Legacy Center, and he was like, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And then, like whatever he wanted to do, at the age of 18, he had his first big like event in Greece. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what? You're 18 and you're having these conferences, like these tent revival things, and he just did it, and he found a way to do it. And, he just, I think he was just relentless in doing that. I don't know if I've known or met anyone to have such a passion to preach and share the gospel at all times and make everything about the gospel. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'd talk to him about this other thing and he'd be like, oh, you know what? And he'd create something else that was biblical or what, like. Did
you see, was there I'm trying to formulate this question the right way. To be a man like that, right? What is a sacrifice that you saw him have to make to live that way? What is that like? Because so the reason I'm asking that is, again, we're talking about everybody wants to be the guy that's speaking. Nobody sees what happened, what it cost to get there. Everybody, I'm sure, I'd love to be like Morris Cerullo, but I think they're only looking at, I'd love to speak in front of 1,000 people.
Yes. What's
the sacrifice? What does it take? What did you see on a day-to-day basis that, like, what did he have to give up to be like that?
If anybody knows me, they know that I wouldn't be disrespectful.
Yeah, of course,
about what I'm saying, and I love the Cerullo family. Yeah. So in no way, shape, or form is it being disrespectful. Just know, like, his sacrifice impacted his family.
Yeah. I can imagine so.
He there was times he was out. He wouldn't be at certain holidays or certain things, whatever, because he's out doing God's work, right? Yeah. And so there was times where his wife would get sick and be in the hospital, but he's having a meeting in Israel or wherever. And it's like, I'll be there when I'm done with this because God has me doing this. Yeah. So I'm sure it impacted his wife. Yeah. He has a son that passed away. Really? That got involved in drugs, overdosed, the whole thing. And so it's like, you think, how could a man of God like this have a son that did that? And I think, again, it goes back to not being there, know. Yeah. But it's like, to him, he was doing what God asked him to do. He was being obedient to that, and it impacted negatively in the other way. Yeah.
One thing I found is that if the enemy can't get to you, he'll definitely go after your kids.
Oh yeah, for sure.
100%.
And that's exactly what happened. Yeah. So there was times where he would be out on the road and he'd be out doing stuff, and there's tragedy happening at home. Yeah. And there was a lot of sacrifice, man. There was a lot of sacrifice that he went through, that he dealt with, that he experienced, that people didn't see or hear about. Yeah. And you got to kind of suck it up and just keep doing what God asked you to do, you know. And it sucks to see it or hear it, but sometimes there's the negative that you never see and hear about, and then you hear only all the big positive stuff. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, the last thing he wants to talk about is his son dying. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's, of course, other people are going to look at that and be like, how could you talk to us about this? Like, there was a video, I think, of his wife at the moment talking like saying those words. Like, how could I even be up here talking about this when I experienced this with my own child? There's the sacrifices that we see. I mean, he took his last breath and he wanted his Bible on his chest, and took his last breath with his Bible. And that's how much of a solid like man of God he was. That it's like, no, he took his Bible like so many times across the globe, and like the Word of God was his thing, his foundation. And so everything else, as we should, everything else fell, second and third in the totem pole. But a lot of that suffered, man. His relationship with his wife, his relationship with his kids, a lot of that suffered. And that was a huge sacrifice that he made. Millions of people were impacted by his ministry and who he was. But, there's always a side that nobody sees.
There's always a price. You always pay some type of price. And I don't say that in a derogatory way, but like, you always do. I've lost, as I continue to grow in my ministry and in just my overall closeness to Father, you lose friends, you lose family, you lose things in life, right? And you want to believe that it is for the greater good, right? And those are that's the struggle of the flesh, right? The struggle of the flesh. And
I was just telling someone that, dude, because like there's certain people that don't kick it the way they used to anymore in the back of the day, and they're choosing to go a different route. They're trying to get closer to the Lord, but in that, like, there's isolation sometimes. Like, I don't get invited to all the same stuff that my homies do anymore.
You're right.
Like I'll scroll through and I'll see pictures of the homies like kicking it at the spot or whatever. Like, oh, I didn't get invited to go watch the game at the whatever, you know what I'm saying, or wherever. It's like I don't get invited to certain functions or whatever, but I think maybe that's God sometimes, like, protecting.
100%. I used to have a crew of like 15, 20 dudes. That's my crew right there. Those are my two best friends. We're with each other every single day. We're lifting weights. We're at the sauna. We have a group text. I don't know, like, and honestly, I don't know too many dads that have a group text with their 18 and 21-year-old sons that it's not like we're bullshitting with each other. Hey, I love you. We're praying for each other. We're talking. Like, most 18-year-old kids don't want anything to do with their dads, right? And we have a great relationship where almost a year ago, me and my oldest one weren't talking to each other, right? And it took me having to release a lot of things in my life and understanding that I stopped being a performer, because I always loved to perform. I love to look at myself in the mirror and all this stuff. And that's when, like, okay, wait a minute, I got to stop that. And once that happened,
you make it about you.
Yeah, you can't lie to your kids, right? You can lie to the world. You can lie to the world and be honest to the world, and your kids will always know who you really are. And until I didn't get until I got the respect, and when they actually saw the change, that the change was not for me to look better, but for me to get better, right? When I started really finding healing and stepping into my calling, my purpose, I think that's when my kids really, like, opened up and, like, they, like, want to spend time with me, and that's there's no better feeling in the world than, like, rolling
great.
with your boys, like, right? Like,
I know when you guys rolled up to the retreat. It was like, dude, little mafia over here. Everyone was like, well, what's up with this? We can jump into it real quick. So you guys are rolling deep.
So we're gonna end here with your book, all right? The deeper message here. Your book is called The Moses Factor, right? The book right here. When does this come out? The ebook's out already.
The ebook's out already. This is the sample version of it right here. So, we're touching up a few things.
Okay.
And so
where can they get the ebook sample? Where can they?
Amazon. Go to Amazon.
Amazon. Get the ebook, The Moses Factor. So
and the paperback and hardcover. Let's say April. We're thinking April.
Okay, April. So your book is called The Moses Factor. What does that title mean?
The Moses Factor, I think, is going to be different to everyone, to you and I.
Okay.
It's just that moment where you realize what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You got to just do.
Yeah.
You got to pack up your stuff and just go do that thing, that assignment that God called you to do. The overall thing with the book is, if I was to wrap it up in one sentence, is probably, this is what God can do with broken and flawed people.
Amen.
So it's less about Moses and more about, look what God can do with broken and flawed people, like unlikely leaders like us.
Yeah.
And so I think if I was to say it in one nutshell of a sentence, that's what it would be, you know what I'm saying? But it's more like, how I'm talking to you right now. I wrote it that way. I had to rewrite it like 3 times, but because I wanted it to be me. I wanted it to flow like me. I wanted it to sound like me. And so, my first round at it was really like textbook.
Sure, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it just sounds fugazi.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
really me.
Yeah.
And so, so I just had to rewrite it to where it was like, dude, I need it to sound like me.
Yeah. Like we're sitting down talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
And so, the Moses Factor is really, I took bits and nuggets of what I learned.
Yeah.
So, I brought up the 2013 thing. So at the end of 2013, I just turned 40. And so, I was really battling with the whole thing that we had talked about, like me being, who do I think I am? I'm this fake, whatever video guy or whatever, doing all this thing. Eric made me look like a rock star.
Sure.
I'm over here doing all, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like thinking I am someone who I'm not.
Right.
And so, so I was doing all these art shows and I'm doing all like, you're getting some popularity. We're talking MTV, doing all stuff. And so, so I was like, man, like still feeling empty no matter what. And I had backslidden for a while because I was going through my divorce.
Yeah.
And then, and so I'm just like partying it up again and I just became back who I was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And so, there was a time where I was driving up to Modesto to go see my kids and it was for Thanksgiving. And like I said, I just turned 40. So, I'm trying to listen to the radio on the drive up. You go through the grapevine, and there's like nothing on except for this Christian station.
Yeah.
And so there was this pastor, Tony Evans, that was on, and he was preaching about Moses turning 40 and had the choice to keep living who you are, this fake life, or you're going to go with what God called you to be and who you're supposed to be and receive that identity.
So this book started way back then.
2013.
Wow.
And so, I heard him and I felt like he was talking to me.
Sure.
I pulled over on the side of the road and I started crying. And I'm just like, all right, Lord, like crying like a baby girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, Lord, what do you want from me? Like, what do you want me to do? Like, what? And I just, I heard his voice just telling me, go get your family back. By this time it's like, I'm divorced.
Yeah.
My kids are up in Modesto with my ex-wife, which is now my wife again.
Yeah.
So we got remarried.
Wow. That's
so
beautiful.
Talk about restoration.
Yeah.
But at the moment I was just like, what? Like, nah, like she's been with other people. I've been with other people. That damage is done and whatever. And so I heard it again, go get your family back. And I'm sitting here arguing with God, like, no, but you don't get it. Like, what I'm saying?
You don't understand.
Like, and so I was like, all right. So I go up to Modesto and then we have this big blowout fight and it just, and I'm like, all right, I'm like, whatever. And so I come back down, I do my toy drive.
Yeah.
I go back up to spend, time with the kids for Christmas. And then things are different, I'm looking at her different.
Sure.
And then she's responding different. And then the kids are like, Dad, can you stay for New Year's? Yeah. And I was like, sure, if your mom says it's cool. So ended up staying for New Year's, and then I had asked her, hey, what do you think about giving this thing another shot? Yeah. And she said, are you serious? Like, yeah, all right, let's do this, but let's do it different this time.
Yeah.
And so so I stayed up in Modesto for about a year. My wife's cousin, Bo Harrows, he was up there in the house church in Modesto, and he kind of took me under his wing and kind of discipled me, mentored me. And dude, there was a lot of questions. I'd been walking with the Lord for a long time, but I'd never been discipled.
Right.
I was never taught like certain lessons or this is what certain things mean. Dude, it's important.
Yeah.
And so Bo kind of took me on kind of like as a like baby in the Lord all over again, and there was a lot of things I had to unlearn. And there was a lot of lessons where sometimes he didn't even have to speak and just be like,
that's important that you said there's a lot of things you have to unlearn. Sometimes people are unwilling to unlearn, and it's the things that they have to unlearn, that those things hinder their growth and they get stuck in a certain place.
But humility, I think, plays a big part in that.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to be a student all over again, no matter, like, I'm a little bit older than Bo, but I had to respect the fact that, dude, you've been in the game for a while, like, put me up on game.
Yeah.
What does this mean? I have so many questions. So he like took me on and was like, all right, bro, like, I'm going to teach you some of the ropes.
Yeah.
And do day and night, phone calls, texts, I'm going to his house and we're just kind of in the word. And he's like, just took me under his wing, man. Sometimes I'd stay silent and sometimes I just question the heck out of everything. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that was I spent a year under his, discipleship or just trying to learn it.
Sure.
And
I'm walking alongside you.
And not saying that I know it all at this moment. There's still a lot to learn.
Sure,
but
always.
I'm saying I think I learned enough to take the training wheels off.
Sure.
And so that was kind of the birth of all of this, was like, okay, now I got to learn. So I was like, what is it about this Moses guy? I felt like a parallel with him at that moment where I was like, okay, he was 40 and he kind of had to make that decision, that crossroads of his life. I was 40 and I had to make that decision.
Yeah.
And so I just started kind of drilling down on like, who is this dude? Like, it sounds like he was like, he didn't want to be a leader.
Yeah.
And,
I think most real leaders, when I talk to them, don't want to be like, I just had this conversation with my pastor last night, or 2 nights ago. He was at the gym and I was like, I wish God did not pick me to be a leader. I want to be a nobody. I wish I never had these tattoos. I wish I could go to a church and sit in the back and nobody talk to me. Like, but then that's like, he's like, stop it. Right. And then you're like, right. But yeah, I'm very weary of those guys. They're like, I was born to lead. And it's like, I'm very weary of those guys. I'm like, you don't know what you're asking for. You don't know what you're asking for.
I say in the book how, a dangerous prayer to pray is like, use me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, Lord, use me.
You're going to show up and use you right away.
I'm like, Lord, I'm ready for this. Like, use me. Like, I'm down. I want to.
Right.
And it's like, okay. Because everything else that comes with it, you're having these spiritual warfare and you're being attacked and left and right. And you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't sign up for this.
I just wanted you to use me. I just wanted to be put in front of people, right?
Yeah.
Why do you feel so many people feel unqualified to lead?
I think we're paralyzed by fear a lot.
Oh, that's good.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
I think, kind of even, I sat in that for a long time too, because I'm like, people are going to talk about my past and talk about, all the stuff I did and all the, it's like, at some point you just need to say, you know what, dude, who cares? Like, God's going to use that thing that you think is going to disqualify you. God's going to use that to qualify you.
100%. That's,
and so
people don't understand that.
Once you kind of break out of that mindset of being paralyzed by the fear of, dude, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, some people are even paralyzed of being successful. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's, there's so many things that, God's not a God of confusion, man. No. So you're not going to sit there and be confused about what God is calling you to do once you feel it and you know it, and just do it. You know what I'm saying? But also, dude, that's not, God didn't give us a spirit of fear. Yeah. So like, let's walk out of that and kind of be a little bolder about what you're supposed to do.
One thing I know after I heard this saying one time, and I use it all the time, is that everything you want is on the other side of fear, right? And if God didn't give us a spirit of fear, we should be able to walk right through that thing, right? Everything you want is
easier said than done.
Is that illusion, right? There's an illusion. There's an illusion of fear, right? But I truly believe, like, when you find your passion equals your purpose, right? And like everything, I don't believe in dreams. I believe in goals, right? I believe you should turn your dreams into goals. And once you have a goal, your goal should be out of reach a little bit, right? It should be a little scary, right? You shouldn't be fearful, but it should be a little scary. Like, I don't think, when God called Abram out of the Ur of Chaldeans, like, he called, like, move someplace else, right? Like, that's scary. That's scary. Like when God takes Joshua to the promised land, like the crazy thing that every time I read that is that Moses dies, right? He takes Joshua to the promised land. He goes, this belongs to you, right? And he's telling him, everything that you see, everywhere you place your foot will be yours. I give this land to you. And then what does he tell him? He goes, now go and take it. What are you talking about? Go and take it. There's giants in the land, right? Like, what do you mean? You just said it's mine. So God gives us a promise, right? God gives us a promise, and we're like, yeah, I believe, right? Joshua's like, I believe the promise. Yeah, this is mine. Joshua saw the things that happened in the desert. He taught, right? He grew up under Moses, and knows that God's real. And how many times do believers, right? Again, this goes back to like knowing you're saved, but not understanding that you're saved, right? We see God work in other people, but we're afraid to see God work through us, right? And it's like God gave him that promise. This belongs to, now you got to go and do it. Right. And it's like, whoa.
That's the part.
That's the part, right? That's the action part you're talking about, right?
Yeah, Exodus 4:20.
Yeah.
Like, so, God tells Moses to go do this thing. And, cool. He got the call.
Yeah.
Like we all get the call to go do that one thing.
Yeah.
But in Exodus 4:20, where he actually packs up his donkey, and he takes his stick and he goes to Egypt to go do that.
Yeah.
Like that was the Moses. That was the moment. Like, yeah, you got a call, but you didn't answer the call until you packed up your stuff and went.
A lot of times you sit on it, right?
That's the moment right there. Dude. That's the moment, dude, is like, pack up your thing, whatever that is, whatever it's going to do, and actually go do that thing.
Yeah.
So we all get the call. We all like we all had that burning bush moment about whatever that is.
Sure.
And God calls you by name and tells you to go do something. But how long are you going to sit there before you pack up your donkey and just go?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
and I'm a firm believer in because I've seen this happen where God will call somebody to do something and they never move on it. He'll call the next person.
Yeah.
Right. And like, you still have an anointing, whatever, but he'll call the next person. And that person, he's just like, send me here. That's the most dangerous person. Send me.
Yeah.
And somebody will go and he will bless that person. Right. And that's what people don't understand, man. We're not special. God will send somebody else to do the job for us. We're not special.
If you ain't going to take it, I'll give it to someone else. Dude, there's I bring it up too in the book, but there's a moment where even like King David, he was already anointed to be king, right? And then his dad tells him, hey, take this bread and this cheese to your brothers, over on the front line.
Yeah.
And so imagine if he would have said, do you know who I am?
Yeah.
I'm anointed to be the next king.
Yeah.
You want me to be a delivery boy and go take this cheese? This ain't no Uber Eats.
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, homie, like you find someone else to take the bread. I'm the next king.
Yeah.
Instead, he was like, cool.
Yeah.
I'll go do that. And because he took on that challenge and he did that thing, he was presented with the giant.
That turns into the divine appointment.
Yes.
I've spoken on this, right? I tell people, like, what's the miracle when David fights Goliath? People think, oh, that he killed Goliath. That's not the miracle. He was an ace with the slingshot. He was a master of that, right? Yeah. He had already fought the bear and the lion, right? The miracle wasn't that. The miracle was the divine appointment that a little shepherd boy, got to the front line and fought the battle for an entire nation. That's the miracle. Other than that, you don't get to that position. He was already good with the sling. It wasn't a magical shot. He was master. He was a master of the slingshot. The divine appointment was the miracle, right? And so you're right. Until you humble your, okay, Dad. Yeah.
But if he wouldn't have done that one thing,
if
he wouldn't have accepted that, that call, okay, cool, I'll go do that. And sometimes that stops us. From doing stuff.
That stops us all the time, brother, right?
The ego and the thing, like, nah, I'm too good for that. Sometimes it's just, dude, get out of yourself, get out of the way and let God do what he does. But
say that again.
That's
say
the
again.
opportunity. Get out of the way and let God do what he does. And so God will put those divine appointments before you, but sometimes you just need to take the bread and the cheese to your brothers in the front.
I love that.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I love that. Yeah.
Just go do it.
What message, so we've talked about this already, but like, what's the message that you hope readers take from the book? What's the one message that you hope readers take from the book?
That it's never too late. No matter how broken you are, no matter how disqualified you may feel, no matter what you think you've done in the past, that it's never too late. It's never too late to start that thing. It's never too late to pack up your donkey and go. God can use anyone, I think is the biggest message. God can use anyone, no matter how old, how young, what you've done, God can use you. And I think, time and time again, like I've seen that in my life, like I said, through Chael, through Noah, through, so many people all throughout my life. Like God can use anyone, including me, including Paco, including, you know what I'm saying? Like these people around us, including you, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think it's, people that disqualify themselves before even giving it a shot.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It's for them, and I think that's the main message is like, just do the thing, man. Like, God can use you. God's it's the beauty of the way God works through broken and flawed people is when someone else can see it and say, God, use me like him.
Yeah.
And then for God to open up doors and to do those things that you never thought that you would do. And then hearing about stuff like way later, like, man, I like how you were telling me earlier, like, man, I remember you doing that, or that one thing that you did inspired me to do this, and it's beautiful to hear, but I want to hear at the end of it, like, man, like, I went to heaven because of, because you told me about Jesus.
Yeah.
And I think, the one thing everybody wants to hear is, well done, good and faithful servant.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, dude, you can give me all the compliments in the world, but I want to hear that at the end of everything,
that's
when everything's said and done.
That's all that matters.
Well done, good and faithful servant. But I want people to walk away saying, dude, yeah, this was a book that inspired me to do that thing.
Okay. Ruben, look into that camera. That's your camera right there.
Boom.
That's your camera right there. And I want I'm going to let you say your last words, and then I'm going to close. I want you to look into the camera and talk to those guys out there that think that they can never be a leader. What are you going to tell them?
I think no matter how much you think you're disqualified, how much you think you're not worthy, how much you've been broken, let God take the broken pieces of your life and make a beautiful mosaic.
Wow.
A mosaic art piece out of who you are. Give God the broken pieces of your heart, and let him make you into who he wants you to be, as opposed to who you think that you are. I think finding our identity in Christ is the biggest thing. Identity is something that the enemy wants to kill, steal, and destroy.
Yeah.
And as long as you know who you are in Christ, you can think that you know who you are, but until you realize whose you are, nothing else matters.
Let's go.
And I think it took me a long time to figure that out. And now at 52, I'm like, all right, like I know a little bit more than I knew these past few years, and now I'm have a different mindset. So it's never too late. Whoever's listening to this, whoever's watching, it's never too late. Go do that thing. You're never too unqualified. If God calls you, he will qualify you. Do that thing. And it doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter how many times you've been in prison. Don't matter how many rehabs you've been in. Don't matter what you've done, whatever your criminal record is, whatever it may be. God can use you if you let him. And just stay focused. Keep your eyes on Jesus, and let him be your true north. And for the men that feel that they've caused too much destruction along the way, don't worry about that. Let God fix that destruction. Let God begin the healing, and just get out of the way.
Yeah,
we need to get out of the way.
I love that.
Let God do what he does.
Ruben, your story is proof that sometimes the people who feel the most unlikely to lead are the exact people God raises up
Amen.
To make the biggest difference. Brother, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, man.
This has been your Grappling with Grace with Ruben Torres. Make sure you please, when it comes out, pick up the Moses Factor. You get the ebook right now on Amazon.
On Amazon. And leave a review for Pete's sake.
Yeah, leave a review. Please go leave a review right now, because you know it's going to be filled with the Holy Spirit. So leave a review right now before you get it.
We appreciate everyone who's picked up a copy on Amazon, and anyone who's read it, and even if you've only read the beginning of it, and if it resonated with you a tiny little bit, leave a review, because for independent authors it means a lot, and it pushes the algorithm. And so Amazon kind of gets it in new faces. So please leave a review, and I'd love to hear some honest reviews, but also if there's something we could do together, shoot me a DM.
Yeah, Ruben, how can people, right here, this is yours?
Catch me, connected with RT on Instagram, Twitter, the Moses Factor on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, all that stuff. And LTN movement, Love Thy Neighbor movement. We'd love to come and do some stuff together. And if you guys want to help me get these into the hands of inmates in some of the prisons and the juvenile halls, like reach out. I want to get these into every hand and all the kids in San Diego, the juvenile halls, and even in the prisons. So help me do that. So reach out, DM me, and let's do that. If you want to help sponsor some copies of the book so we can get these into the hands of the kids that need them, reach out. Let's do that. Gallegos is his martial arts studio is going to be sponsoring some stuff.
Yeah, of course. Let's do it.
Putting him on the spot.
I will do it 100%.
No, that's what I was saying. Yeah. We're going to have El Pollo Grill and have all these
Victor, I love Victor, man. Love Victor, yeah.
No, I was saying we're going to have all these crazy sponsors that people doesn't even like, what's this auto shop and tent stuff? And what is this in the book?
Yeah.
No, but if you guys want to get involved, man, shoot a DM. Would love to work alongside. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's a taco shop, it's a MMA studio, whatever it is, reach out. Let's work. Let's put in some work.
Okay,
so,
Ruben.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, brother. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Love you guys. We'll see you soon.